Hi, Swarm. Well, this is the unit I'm looking at. This is the daylight running module for the Q30's headlights. If you're wondering why it only covers half of it, that's because if you have the LED headlights, that's a board that goes on this side. This is from my original failed light, which was the passenger side, and the daylight runnings on the Q30 have a strip over the top and a curved strip that then goes underneath the rest of the lights, and those are handled by these two LED packages. You probably don't need to be a genius to work out which one of these isn't working properly. This, annoyingly, when it's in the car, is mounted behind a section of bodywork, so you have to get the light out to get the unit. My other one has failed on both. The second-hand one also appears to have failed on both, but these circuit boards have been cloned. So now we have the clone board. Cloned right down to the serial number. But the question is, how do you test it? So I want to try and figure out where the power feeds are on this circuit board. If this works, I can repair the light in the car. I can then repair this one and sell it, which is, to give you an idea, a fully working brand new unit is just under £1,400. So I can easily sell a second-hand one for 500. If I can then repair... Oh, the board comes off. It's their aluminium back boards. So the board just goes onto the cooling that is on the unit. Whether it's got extra... No. It's an exact clone. But the plan is, if I can fix the second-hand one, I can sell that, and for 70 odd quid's worth of boards, I can get £1,000 back. So, because when the strip went in the passenger side one, this one, I didn't know it was replaceable, so I had to buy the whole light, which at the time was £680. But now they're a lot more expensive. When I actually got the replacement, they were all still in the Motor Factors feed, so you could just go to a company like, in my case, Parker's, and order the light, but you can't do that anymore. So I am sort of stuffed. Yeah, but the car's on 112,000 miles. If it blows a 30 quid LED every 100,000, I can cope with swapping them. The only annoyance is of course it's got thermal paste on the bottom, so let's stop it sticking to the desk. Give it something to actually stick to. So let's see if we can figure out what's actually wired to what. Because it's a surface mount connector. So that's not a direct connection through these grounds. The problem is it's a white mask over the top. Of course, there's nothing underneath because it's an aluminium backboard. But the question is, does it? That's better. Okay, so it doesn't have a full conformal coating. Good, so we can actually get signal through things. So what does that connect to? Is that another ground? Okay, so that's the feed directly to one of the LEDs. I'm guessing that should be a decoupling capacitor that wasn't bothered with. I'm guessing a lot of these are decoupling capacitors that weren't bothered with. So, where does this one go? Or is that just acting as heat sink? Because there's no trace from this one on. Hi Dopez. And I have no idea how to pronounce the other person's name. So we've got... Where's this one? I'm wondering if that's just heat sinking. Because it's not as if it can be a dual layer board with an aluminium substrate under it. You know, unless you're earthing the aluminium. Nope. So 6 pins. Let's do this one. 1, 2, 6. So 3 is the edge of the bottom LED. Six is the middle of the top. Maybe it is a multi-layer board, but you wouldn't have thought so. No got connection to that. So that's to the edges, but do they go to anything else? So that's how it should look. So are all of those connected? Right, so the edges in 3 are all one big ground. With the serial interface smiley and hello. Yeah, this is the infrareds on the back. Somewhere in the house is the actual cable, but don't ask me where. That way does madness lie. Right, so you'd think this would be another ground. But that doesn't seem to go anything. See if we can. Oh yeah, I mean, I bought this from Maplin's. We needed a. I'm not going to say decent, but semi-decent multimeter in a hurry. And of course, at the time, Maplin's unique selling point was you could just go in and buy something. So we did. Yuck. This is the point where Majanko will be hating me. Right. That's some really nasty. I don't know if that's actually from the LED or from the end of a light pipe. But as the actual headlight is like, see if I can get my hands in shot. Yeah, I can't show you how big the headlight is on camera because the camera's not focused out enough. Because the headlight curves around the corner of the car, so it's rather large. Okay, so that one connects to there. But it doesn't connect through the underside. How does this get its return? Unless it's a multi-sided board, but you wouldn't think so. So we've got two connections, and that's basically it so far. And that's top LED, middle, and the edge of the bottom LED. You know that one goes to there. It doesn't go through there. Smiley, to get a new one, £1,390 at the moment. Whereas that is £36. And I naturally bought the other side too. As I was saying to Swarm, the boards have been cloned. These are the daylight running light modules. Basically, but they're drop shipped enough you can literally buy them from Amazon. It'd be cheaper if you did it from AliExpress, but as a commercial entity, that causes me lots of fun to do with imports, and I don't want to do that. So I'm guessing those are capacitors, and that may be a diode. Well, I would guess that's a diode, but I'm not sure. Yay for absolutely tiny parts. So we actually get. So if we're going from there to there, basically 0. Can we get a signal from this? Is it side to side? See, that one's tied to what I think is ground, so that would make sense. Capacitor, so decoupled. So pin 3 also goes up to there. That's that, well as there. Okay. Well, so pin 2 has got to be doing something because it's going up to here. So are those two tied in parallel? So 4's going to that pad. And to there. So 5. That's interesting. Is that actually hooked to anything? Okay, so that's hooked up to there as well. So where does pin 1 go? Maybe pin 1 doesn't go anywhere. I can see a gap around the pins. So it's not on the... That one goes underneath it, so... Pin 2... So it feeds that and that. So pin 2 comes up here to this side of these two components, up to here, and they all tie back into this and back to that, but that doesn't seem to go anywhere. wait, so that goes back to pin 5? So pin 6 we know, pin 5 we now run through this circuitry. 3 is the edge of this LED pack. But 4, 3 and 1 just doesn't seem to go anywhere. This is weird. It's no easier to see on this one. You'd think most of this would just be power, because the control module's under a different unit on the lamp, with another bolt-on heatsink and seal like this. But it's very strange. What I would expect would be powering and then sort of sensing to check that the module's working, which sort of would make sense for this loop of stuff. But I can only find a connection on each side of the LEDs. I wonder if there's something in between. Again, nothing. Yeah, but you'd expect the yeah. What did this one? I can trace out a connection from here, and I can trace out a connection from the middle of this one all the way down to there. That gives us 2 pins, and this comes up through these components and that one, and then back down and to this pin. But there doesn't seem to be a full circuit for this one, or that one deliberately. You'd expect if it was switched something, there would at least be something coming off here, and it would be turning up at some other part of the circuit. I mean, it could be the board got damaged taking it off the heatsink, but... Hi, Majenko. Would you like a puzzling board? I could take my glasses off and then I wouldn't be able to see too well inside. So 4 goes to whatever was meant to be there. This is the daylight running light module from the Q30 Majenko. It's a small white circuit board with an aluminium back, and I'd like to figure out if we could test it, but I can't find a connection between things. There's 6 pins on the connector. Pin 6 goes to the middle connection on the top LED pack. Pin 3 goes to the edge of the lower LED pack. Pins 2 and 5 run through a set of traces which have a couple of empty pad spaces and then have a couple of components across them. The side of that links to is to pin 4. So pin 3 goes through those components and links, as far as I can tell, to pin 5, or it can have some other components on it to take it to pin 4, which I'm sort of assuming is more of an ID system. I mean, 3 pins with some surface mount components that allow you to connect 1 pin to 2 other traces, sort of, to me, says this is an ID system, because it doesn't seem to talk to anything else on the board. There's nothing else on the board to talk to. But I can't find, like, where the other side of the circuit on the 2 LEDs goes. You'd think they'd end up on the connector somewhere. I have cleaned off a lot of the burn mark. That might explain why the top LED went first. There's no heatsink compound underneath where the top LED pack is. So I'm guessing that's why that overheated first. This is the lump it comes on. Well, that's what I'm thinking, Swarm, but I can only assume it would have been used on a different vehicle, because the Q30 had the same headlight unit and the LED running lights are the same on the LED and the halogen unit. I've got the halogen unit. So, I mean, it's by the Leo, so, you know, they make headlights, that's what they do. So I could guess that it would go into other cars and might have other settings, but it's one of those, you know, we've got known 5 pins out of 6, and yet I can't find a trace through the LEDs. You'd think these solder pads would go somewhere. Because of course, as it's in the car, we know it's going to take 12 volts. Yes, which is, unless it's regulated on the main board, but I'm not going there for a moment. I'd just start at a very low voltage and work up until something lit up on the LEDs. But without being able to find the other side, it's let's across this. See, that makes sense to me. That the centre and the side would be the connections to the LED. And in fact, I'm getting 0.7 volt on diode test across it, and 0 in the other direction, which makes sense. So where does this go? I wonder if that's the same between those two. But that's the opposite sides. As far as I can tell, Majenko, yeah, they're all 2 pads. They're your traditional. These are so small they don't even have markings. All we've got is 3 grey ones and then 1 black in that position. It's interesting that the voltage drop is between 2 different pads on these 2 different units. Is that just I had them wrong way around? Yes. So it's a connection either side and 1, I'm guessing, under the middle. But how do you take a track to nowhere? When this came out, this was working. The top section was dull, and the lower section was full power, which is a bit obvious from seeing the damage to me. That's what I thought, but it doesn't appear to be. I mean, the substrate's definitely conducting. Because I would have thought that with, say, the grounds. That's a good point. Let's... Nope. So none of the pins connect through. Still don't know what pin 1 actually does. Because I haven't found anything connected to that. Hold on. Was that me getting the wrong one? Yeah. That me hitting, because 3 and for support are connected. Let me see if I can think of a way of... put that away for a second. I had the wrong audio settings on that scene. It turned on the internal microphone on the laptop, which isn't configured for anything. About pictures on Mastodon. That was the quickest way I could think of sending it from my phone. No, that's what's really weird. The two sides don't appear to be connected at all. They both sort of are the same, except the different sides. That's what's weird. So on this one, I've got a voltage. The diode test shows voltage and voltage drop from what I'm assuming is the middle pin to the right when these pads are towards you, and this one it's to the left. So it goes from here to there. But there doesn't seem to be anything going the other way. The problem is, of course, I don't know what these packs are. So we don't know what the connections are like underneath. It could just be there's two pads and you're meant to join them on the outside. I just don't know. So I would have assumed, with the three connections, that you'd get an equal drop across either side, and it just doesn't. But again, without knowing actually how this pack is wired, because it's obviously multiple LEDs in there. And this is the one that goes down to pin 3. But I still don't know where this goes. It goes to this solder pad, which I'm assuming is some form of via. And the middle pin of this one has a pad for a component here, which I'm guessing would be a capacitor because it's going between that trace and what I'm assuming is going to be the ground trace, given the size of it. That then has the position to go to the other side, of which there's nothing connected, but again, I'm guessing that's the same because of the position. It then goes round through this pad. There's what I assume is a capacitor, because it's going between pin 6. I'm assuming that's pin 6. Yeah, it's pin 6. And this trace, which I'm assuming is a ground, which comes all the way round, picks up the mounting bracket on the connector, and connects to pin 3, which is this one. Assuming that's pin 3. Yeah. It's very strange. Haven't found that out either. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. I didn't know you could do well, I guess it's all down to your insulation layer, isn't it? Doing a multi-layer board with an aluminium substrate. This is why I'm dealing with the broken one, because if need be, we can break it more to try and see stuff. It is. Oh. Currently 22 degrees in here. Yeah, but you would think they would come out somewhere where you'd find them. Maybe it's just magic. No, we know it's not. But yeah, I've got a feeling I know why this one has actually failed. That top LED pack is there, and I've got a feeling it didn't like having no uh, thermal compound at all. So I'm guessing that's why that one failed first on this one. On the other one I've got in the other spare one downstairs, both of these are covered in, well, that from the LED. Okay, this is the lump it's attached to, and that's for heat seeking. But there's technically no active airflow over this. Yeah, or when we took it off the board, because this basically ended up being levered off here. But again, that's why I'm poking at the broken one, because So I'm basically getting the same results off a new one. Don't know. Well, yay for the fun of weird car electronics. The fun of having to buy two, just in case I sent the wrong one, because I wanted one left, one right. But if we can fix the one in the car, I can fix the spare one and sell it, and that will be very nice for my finances. But that's what this heatsink is off my original broken one. I've got the other spare downstairs where both the LED packs are really nasty looking, even worse than this one was. But I don't know if they'll light through the light pipe properly if the end of the light pipe's been damaged. But I can't really test it because I don't have an LED powerful enough to handle that. We tried it with just a torch and the answer was nope. But the other problem there is I therefore can't test it without the lamp being hooked up to the car, and I haven't figured out how the connectors undo yet. The connectors clip onto the bottom of the light unit, so you have cables coming out to one end of the connector that's clipped onto the light, and the other connector is on the loom and it clips in. But because of where they are, the clip is on the bottom, and I can't figure out how the clip unclips. So at the moment I can't detach them, because if I could just hook this onto the car and test it using the car to control it. I mean, the actual controller I'm guessing is the second board, because the wiring loom connectors are an 8 and a 6 pin, I think, and under the main board connector is an enormous 40 pin connector. It's definitely the one, isn't it? Simon's actually got some of these coming from. We sent a picture of it to a guy he deals with, who specialises in repairing weird stuff. He had a guy come in and ask him to look at a headlight from an Aston Martin, and he said it was about ten quid's worth of LEDs, but the replacement light's £4,500. Interesting. Yeah, I think we'll call it there, because I don't think I'm going to get any further with this unit. So thank you everyone for turning up, I'm gonna go and make a sandwich. So, have you ever noticed how many streamers end due to food? Yeah, they dim and bright depending on what the other lights are doing, so that would make sense, Majenko. Um, when you turn the indicators on, the DLRs are dimmed to a lower level. So, right, well, take care, everyone, and I'll see what else I can come up with.